So today we're going to be talking about the ArtistsInspire Grants, a very awesome program that is held by ELAN, the English Language Arts Network, and it's funded by the Government of Canada, Patrimoine Canadian Heritage. And we are a new team. There are two new team members in the AIG for this year. I'm the project manager, and my name is Quinton Sheriff. And I have a coordinator who is my ELAN Capacity Development Manager, and his name is Jean-Paul Oster, or perhaps you've seen some emails from JP. JP is how he goes. And then we have Rain Huff, who has stayed on in their communications role. So this is the sort of core team of ArtistsInspire Grants, but obviously we are supported and there's a lot of help developed from the rest of the ELAN team. So let me just give you a little introduction of myself, who I did, what I did before, and why I'm sitting in this seat. So I immigrated to Canada 11 years ago, and I settled in Montreal because I speak French and English. But I was originally born in Zimbabwe, and I studied in South Africa. And then I didn't want to go back to Zimbabwe, so I thought I'd better figure something else out. So I'd done a bachelor's in music and English, and I also did a postgraduate certificate of education. So I started looking for international schools to teach in, and I got a position in a British school in China. So I taught in China for 4 years, and then I went across to Thailand for 3 years, and then I went to Peru for 3 years, and then I emigrated to Canada. And a large part of the work I was doing as a music teacher and as the head of music departments was something similar to the ArtistsInspire Grants, where I would teach class music. And then I would organize specialists to come in to give certain workshops or peripatetic music lessons. So bring in a violin teacher to teach violin, or flute teachers to teach flute, etc. So when I saw this opportunity for the project management role come up, I was delighted to apply for it because it's something that I have done in the past and I am passionate about and truly believe in it. Nick is joining me as Director of Programs, and he is dropping in contact details and other bits of information into the chat. Thanks for your help, Nick. Alrighty. So we've got about 40 minutes of talking, and I'm going to try get through it as quickly as possible. And then if there are questions and answers, I'd just ask us to save these for the end. So going to go through overview, talk about grant details, talk about the purpose of the grant. I'll explain some changes and improvements that have happened, and I'll guide you through the new process. And then there's a few specifics towards the end. So the ArtistsInspire Grants goal is to enhance community vitality, identity, and belonging in the English-speaking communities of Quebec. And we do this by providing schools with an easy application process to access funding to bring in diverse artists who can design and facilitate hands-on workshops and events and experiences in the arts and culture. As I said, it's housed by ELAN, the English-language Arts Network, but we work in collaboration with Learn Quebec, another nonprofit. And Learn Quebec helps us facilitate the payments and the invoices with the artists. I'm just admitting another person who's joining. So here we've got an excellent example of an artist, Daniel Hickey, who's working with some elementary school students. And they've created a shadow puppetry display, and you can see that there are some learners behind the shadow puppet stage, and it looks like they've created these puppets and they've created a narrative and a story. And what a wonderful experience if you think of what you're able to do in class in your subject-specific areas where you have to follow certain curriculum and it has to pigeonhole with the Quebec curriculum. And then this is a wonderful opportunity to really bring the arts alive from an expert artist coming and working with your students. So there are two different grants, and both of them cover $1,500 for certain different activities. So what does this $1,500 cover? It covers the artist's fees, and it covers it at a more professional level of payment and honoraria. So there are some examples of the amounts that we have worked out for to give our artists a sustainable amount. Artist fees will depend on experience and the numbers of artists. For example, we have dance collectives where maybe 5 people will go to one school. They don't all get that amount of money. It gets split up between the collective or the company. Funds can be leveraged by combining with other arts and culture funding opportunities. So you can use your AIG grant, and then you can connect it to the Quebec Culture à l'école, Culture in the Schools program, or other programs that are out there. There has been a change to the grants this year, and unfortunately, we are no longer able to fund travel, overnight stays, or food. And this was a necessary change in discussion with our government partners, where we had to respect the program guidelines and prioritize awarding the microgrants for as many schools as possible. So that is one change that has come this year. It doesn't affect you as the schools or the arts consultants in applying. However, it does affect the artists. So we have been working in collaboration with artists and school boards in order to supplement their work and make sure that they're having a great time and sleeping well to wake up and work hard the next day. The purpose of our grants is there's several ideas that we have, and all of these are very different, with except one or two, from what your usual school environment and curriculum offers. So we can ask for workshops and work for personal development. We can do projects that enhance the life of your community and your stakeholders around you. It can be activist, and it can impart and impact a political or a social movement that's going on. You can partner for non-arts goals, so you can work across curriculum areas, or you can focus specifically on developing art skills. You can integrate the arts with other different subjects, which when I was a classroom teacher, I used to love doing, working with the maths teacher and music, or working with the drama and the art teacher and the music to create little 3-minute performances, for example. And then finally, we can ask our artists to create a beautiful work of art along with the students to beautify your environment. So you can think, what's the purpose of the projects I'm wanting to have done in my school environment, and how do I want the impact to be assessed? What do I want at the end result? Do I want a beautiful piece of art? Do I want a not so great piece of art, but a lot of process work and thinking work and development in my students and my learners? Lots of different ways we can think about this. So we've been listening and reading your feedback, the school's feedback and the artist's feedbacks, and we've been working on some improvements. So one of the ways that we've improved things and will be improving in the future is the way that you can search for artists, workshops, disciplines, and themes. And we're trying to expand this to be more inclusive and have more equity, as well as linking with the Quebec curriculum in a closer way, so you can see the value, and it's an easy sell for schools to apply for these programs and these grants. We're also adding different links that are talking about ways that the arts can connect or develop things. So on the left, we had certain ideas that were already in the system. And hopefully by spring next year, we're going to be adding some extra filtering possibilities. So you can look for workshops or events that explore identity and belonging as members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, or for the Black, the Indigenous, the people of color community. We're also going to link ways to filter for younger students, so to help them process feelings and thoughts and experiences, and then using the senses and strengthening hand-eye coordination. So trying to strengthen the ways that you can filter and find the right artist or the right arts collective for your projects. So we've got a new process, and we've really tried to streamline this and make it more efficient. We saw some areas of friction and some examples where we could definitely remove these blocks and try and make it simpler for you. So our new online platform centralizes everything that you need, from finding your perfect artist to submitting your grant application and getting paid. And here you can see 4 different tabs on the screen, and these show the 4 different stages of our process. And we'll go into each of these one stage at a time. So I will just point out that the 4 stages are connect, collaborate, create, and celebrate. And then there are a bunch of links below that, which will take you to the necessary section for that stage in the process. So let's go through them one by one. Step 1, you're going to connect with your artist. So you can go to the artist catalog, and you can use the filtering system, which will let you search by discipline and age group and themes. And then once you've found your perfect match, you can see their email and their phone numbers, and you can begin the communications with them. So let's go to artist profile, and I hope that the screen share is following. Okay, thanks, Nick. So I'm going to search for my capacity development manager and use his profile as an example. Right. So here we have JP, and here you can see a summary of who he is, his main focus and discipline, his specialties, a little description of who he is, some lovely pictures of the work the artist is doing, and then here is all the communication details and some specific information. So you can send him an email or give him a call. You know what area he resides and works in, and you can work through all these details and figure out the dates and the times and the grade levels and all that sort of good stuff. If you would like to work through the workshops, then you're going to go to the workshop catalog page, which has a bunch of filters up at the top. So that helps you filter specifically for the workshops, and then that will give you information on the artist as well. So same way to get the information. So once you've connected with your artist, you're going to collaborate with them, get all these final details together, and you are going to go back to your chosen artist. And something that's new this year, you're going to see an apply button that is below their name. So if I click on apply, it takes us to a new application form. And we do it this way so that the form loads all of the information about your artist that you want to work with, and you don't need to go and find names and contact details and stuff. It's automatically there as part of the system. So when you're filling out the application form, we've made it simpler, and we've made it so that every school contact can apply for their own form, their own applications and their own grants. Before, you used to have to go to one person who was your representative in the school, and they would apply for the grant for you. We've got rid of that. Now, if the grade 6 English teacher wishes to apply for the grant, they apply for the grant. If the grade 3 class teacher wishes to apply for a grant, they can apply for the grant using their details. No more sign-ins, no more membership sections. The way that we will identify your school is by using a code d'organisme or school code. And if you don't know your school code, we've grouped them all here in a handy little PDF. Or you can just email me and I will help you find your school code. And then it's pretty simple. We fill out the form. So I'm going to fill in an incorrect school code so that my capacity development manager gets a rejection email so that he knows not to process this. So I'm just going to put in a bunch of numbers, and then I'm going to put in my name. And I'll put in my email. Let's use that one. And then I'm going to put Nick as my principal. Sorry, Nick. Ba-dum-bum. Give me a sec. And I'm going to click next. So now here, this is what I was mentioning to you. We've got JP's name as your chosen artist. So you're not going to choose JP. You're going to choose the right artist for your workshops and your events. And you'll see that their details pop up here. And then I'm going to apply for an in-person format. And I'm going to put the date. Well, we don't work on Sundays. Let's put the Monday. And I'm going to imagine an end of project date. And I'll click next. And then here we see two different examples of the grants that you can apply for. The first is workshop grants, where you work with at least 2 classes, and each class has 2 one-hour sessions, giving you like 6 to 10 hours of total over 2 separate days. All of this can be negotiated and worked out with the artist and the school and the teacher. And then on top of the workshop grants, you can apply for a one-day event, which is more performance-based, where your artist shows their expertise and their passion, and they work at a higher level, perhaps, than working in the workshops. And here we ask for you to structure something like 2 45-minute performances with a 15-minute artist talk at the end. There are some rules. These need to happen during the school days, and the one-day event needs to happen on a different day to the workshops. It represents a full day of work by our artist, and it's the same artist as the workshops. So we can't apply for one-day events with me, Quentin Sheriff, and then the workshops with Jean-Paul. It's not going to work that way. We want to focus and give opportunities to our artists, because most of the time this is their full-time job. So we want to make it sustainable for them. I'm going to go for both events, because why not? It's the same application form, and wouldn't it be amazing if I got a workshop and a one-day event? So I'm going to say what I'm planning for my workshops. So, let's say blues and jazz workshops with grade 8 and 9 music, and a one-day event where we will have 3 school assemblies with artist talks. I'll say with performances to make it very clear, and artist talks. So just 1 or 2 sentences just to give us an idea, to help us with the eligibility and with processing the grants. And then I'm going to click next. So as part of the grants, you can elect up to 20% of the $1,500 to go towards the resources that you need. Let's say you're doing a mural and you need to get some paint, or you're doing collage projects and you need to get some special paper and a bunch of arts utensils and scissors and glue and all that jazz. So yes, I'm doing a project where I do need to purchase some things. So you can click yes, and that gives you the allowance of 20% of the total. So if you're applying for a $1,500 grant, that would be $300. And if you're applying for both grants and you get both grants, that would be $600. And I'm going to click next. And here we are. the last page of the form. It's about half as long as it used to be before. Amazing. This makes me happy to see. So I can confirm all the statements are true. I can confirm I've communicated with the artist, Jean-Paul, and I've confirmed all these project details. And I confirm that I've read and accepted the terms in the school guide for arts and expenses, and you can download a copy here if you need a copy for your records. I understand that payment will be issued directly to the artist by Learn once we've completed the feedback form. And that's an important part because Learn needs to wait for that feedback to come in so that they know that the event has taken place and then they can process this payment. And I also understand that as part of that feedback, I'm going to give feedback on the event. I'm going to upload some pictures and some videos and other media. And then I'm going to submit. And you'll see a positive response. Yep, my response was submitted. That's amazing. So you can then wait a couple of days. We're saying between 6 and 10 days, we're going to process it for you. If there's something that's super urgent, then we would ask you to send in your application form and then just follow it up with an email and say, hey, Quinton, I've got something, but it's Thursday, the 6th of November, and I want to start this next Monday. And if it's possible, we will try and process this as a matter of urgency. But we would like a bit more time and a bit more time to sort of think this through and figure out the eligibilities, etc. So let's move on. You've submitted your grant and you've got a response back. And the email response that comes back will go into your inbox as the teacher. It'll go into your principal's inbox so that they know there's this cool activity that's happening on the school grounds. And it'll go into the artist's inbox. So everyone knows, okay, we've got this grant. It's amazing. We can get going with these workshops. So the artist is going to visit and you're going to create these works of art. And perhaps you did the application like me for the workshops and the one-day event. So they're going to be at your school for at least 3 days. The actual days that you use and the way that you structure is it can be more flexible than coming to the school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then finishing. I was at a workshop yesterday with some AIG artists, and one artist mentioned that she stretched it over 3 months because she wanted the students to develop skills in the classroom, and then she would come back and monitor and move students onto the next stage. So it's flexible. It's up to you, the artist, and their availability, and your curriculum and what you can fit in. And then part of the grant includes taking photos and encouraging your school to collaborate with us and post this on social media pages and share the reach of all of this wonderful work. And we've got 3 tags and hashtags at the bottom, which you can use. You can also download the photo tips if you need some tips on taking clear photos and videos. And then last stage, wow, it's done. You can celebrate. You have this wonderful sculpture in your garden. You have a wonderful mural on the wall of the school hall. And you can celebrate the outcome with your class, the community, and all of the community at large. And we will celebrate with you by sending this out on social media. So once the workshop's done, you'll get an email in your inbox, and that'll take you to the feedback form. So to finalize the grant, you'll fill out the form, upload and email a few photos or a short video of the project. And then, as I mentioned before, when we get that email, it automatically sends an email to Learn, who will pay out our wonderful artists. And here, if I click on Submit Feedback, this is going to take us to the feedback form. And it's pretty simple. So it'll ask for your grant application ID, which you'll get in your inbox. And then it's just information about what happened on that day, how many students participated, what grades, what was the discipline, how did it connect, etc., etc. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't need to fill this out right now because I need like photos and descriptions of workshops and all that sort of jazz. So these are our 4 steps. Simplified, more efficient, hopefully getting you more grants and more artists in your schools. So some specifics about the eligibility of this grant. The workshops and the one-day events have to be done in English. We receive funding from the Government of Canada's official language minority funding. So this is English in Quebec. And these are strict guidelines that are laid out by our funder. There are equivalent programs in French and French as a second language for the other provinces in Canada. But for us, this is English in Quebec. For the materials and expenses, if you're purchasing materials, these are going to come out of the grant money, up to $300 per grant that you apply for. And these can be purchased by the artists and they can get them delivered to the school or they can bring them to the school. If you are using funds from other grants, etc., or if you're using school board funding for transport, for example, we will not reimburse that. So we ask you to take that into account. And one project that I'm thinking of is, and I would like to just give this as a case study and an illustration, is there is one artist who is going up into the far north, into the Cree School Board, and they have worked with 8 different schools, and we've processed 8 grants. And the school board is paying for the transport and the hotel and the food. And this artist is going to fly up to the far north, work for almost a month, and then they're going to come back having changed their lives and impacted with art and culture the students in these 8 schools. So I think that's amazing. And if you need some ideas and some brainstorming of how you can search for different funding to get something done or how you can collaborate and partner, please do email me. I'm very happy to speak with you about that. And perhaps I've got some ideas or some resources that I can point you in the right direction. The third point is artist payments. Our artists work very hard, and we would like to make sure that the payment's on time and efficient to help them out. So after the ArtistsInspire experience takes place, the school will complete the feedback section of the online application, and this leads to the artist being paid. And then just a note on photos and videos, because we're working with minors and, police clearances and all of this sensitive sector checks, etc. So just bear that in mind when you're taking photos and of your students and your teachers of their right to privacy. In Quebec, we're also governed by Law 25, which allows a right to privacy of content and information. So photos and videos can only be shared by the school because you hold all of these disclaimers and all of these administration and documentation around that. And this is why we ask the school to give us the photos and the videos and not for the artists to do it themselves. So that's the end of this orientation session.